Good morning again. We fed everybody already happy? Did you get, how was the food? How about a big round of applause for it? Everybody have enough coffee? You're all set? Settled in? Good. First of all, let's thank the directors and all those that served you. How about a round of applause for those that provided that service? I'd like to invite those people, those directors, up to the podium now. I'd like to invite the directors. Come on up here, up front, please. And I'll introduce them as they come up. We've got the building commissioner, Carlo Patroni, the city engineer, Don Ram, Angie Zalesnik, the clerk of courts, couldn't be here. She's in Columbus. I'll talk about that later. Natalie Buck takes care of this facility on this side and does a great job as the community services director. We've got the economic development director, Jeremy Rowan. We've got the fire chief, Steve Riga, human resources director, Joe Lubin, information technology director, Jim Gibbs in the back. We've got interim police chief, Jim Pollock, purchasing coordinator, Bob Williams. There's Bob. Rec director, Ed Kostiak. Senior services coordinator, Kathleen Kapusta. Service director, Dave Schneiderburn. Vern Blaze. Anybody else that I miss? Okay. The reason I bring them up here is because there is no way you could get the level of services you get in this community without a team effort. And our leadership team and all those that work under their direction do a phenomenal job all year long. As a matter of fact, their hard work every day, they work hard to improve the quality of life for each and every one of you. And so I want to thank and recognize them for their efforts all year long. They do a great job. As a matter of fact, it's similar, running the city is similar to running a corporation. In the public sector, you have the residents, all of you. In a business, there's the shareholders. You're the shareholders of our city. We have city council. You appoint them through the election process. That's similar to the board of directors for a corporation. The mayor, I guess I'm the CEO. You got the finance director, who's a CFO. You've got the department director. They are the people that keep a pulse on the community every day. Without their hard work and the people that work under them, there's no way we could deliver the quality of services that we do and sustain those services. So they make a difference. They make a difference all year long in their efforts. This year's theme, A Vision for the Future with an Appreciation of the Past, is something that's dear to me because that was my first campaign theme, and when I first ran for the office of mayor, it was leadership. A vision for the future with an appreciation of the past. Some of you that have been here longer than me might remember that. But we've now taken that because it applies to what we're going to try to accomplish in 2013. Our theme, which is talking about our 200-year history. We also want to talk about today the city finances and where we're at financially. We want to talk about the vision for the future with respect to economic development. And then we want to talk about something that's very, very important, our partnership with the schools and investing in the future with our youth. Involved in this packet, we have a number of different things, and it's all based about communication. What we're trying to share with you is just a soundbite of all the things we do all year long. In other words, we could very easily make this State of the City something where the directors talk about all the services they do, the typical State of the City address. We decided to deviate from that. We put the packet together that outlines all the services we provide all year long. But we also share other things, like we share about the economic development director's vision for the future. We have information on 25 and Alive. We have the fact sheet about the city's successes this past year. And we also have a copy of my admin update. Every week, my team, and I want to recognize my team that works so closely, because they'll be very shy, Dar Velada, Kathy Alexi, Vern Blaze, help every week, and all my directors compile what we've designed as called an administrative update. And what that is a summary of the week's activities. Originally, it was designed just for city council because I wanted to keep them up to speed. The benefit of that is by having that weekly update, it streamlines the process when we need to have legislation approved. They know what's going on more quickly. We can answer their questions before a meeting. And so what I did was I put a copy of one of our admin updates in your packets. And it's available online, but it's also available for you to get. You can get a copy every week. On Monday morning, on Friday I give them to council. On Monday we pass them out to the community. And it's a great soundbite of what's going on in the city for that week. So if you don't already get it, you're invited to get it. It's online, and we can also make sure through our office, make sure you get a copy of it. But it's all about enhanced communication. We want to make sure that we're giving you as much information as quickly as we get it so that you understand what's going on in your community. What we did in 2000, we're going to regress a little bit and talk about the state of the city. In 2011, we talked about leadership and teamwork and our success. It'll translate into a successful future. What we've done since then, we've added some very key people to our staff, to our team, the A-team. We have Joe Lubin in HR, Mike Giro in the building department, Kyle Collins. Kyle, thanks for your help again, and Jim Gibbs, thank you for all your efforts in putting this on today. We really appreciate that. Jeremy Rowan, Clark Murders in the engineering department, and we'll be looking to the future, filling a few more spots. And we also have lost some very important people over the last couple of years. They've gone on, retired, or moved on, different opportunities. And so that's just part of the process. My whole point is everything is changing. It's constantly changing. And we need to be on the cutting edge of that change if we're going to continue to provide the highest level of services to you and our business community. Last year, in 2012, we focused a lot from good to great on the Civic Center and the campus. And my enthusiasm sometimes gets the best of me, I'll admit it. My passion and commitment gets the best of me. And sometimes I can see things, I think, a little differently maybe than reality. But at the end of the day, we all agree, and the surveys resulted in a clear message that we want to make sure that the Civic Center is always on the leading edge of opportunity for quality of life enhancements for our residents. But with the economic situation the way it is, the need for gathering additional information, and the fact that there are potentially 2 other levies on the ballot in November, we've pulled back because we're sensitive to the economy, we're sensitive, and the priority would be the schools. And so we want to make sure that we're not overlapping or interfering with the success of our partner, which is the school system. We have a lot of opportunities, and I think in time we will be able to introduce a more concrete plan, something that you'll be able to be comfortable with, and then we'll go to the ballot and let you decide if that's the future direction you want. But right now, we're going to focus on, and we didn't forget, and now that I've entered that age, the senior housing and alternative housing, which brings me to where we're at for 2013, a vision for the future with an appreciation of the past. And that's appropriate because this is an exciting opportunity this year. We have the bicentennial coming up for 2014, and for those of you anybody that's involved with organizing events realizes that it's not something that it's not like a light switch going on. It takes time, effort, money, it takes team building, it takes leadership, and that's what we're doing right now. We're going to look at the history of our community, at the same time blend that in with fun activities throughout the year next year that will provide a lot of fun for you and the youth of our community. And we're very fortunate to have someone that is very selfless when it comes to her time. I have yet, in all the years of public service, have yet to ask Kim Sawinski to help us where she said no. And here's another example. Kim, would you please come up? As the chairman of the Bicentennial Committee, She is so generous with her time and her commitment and her passion for this community. Kim Skowinski is going to lead the charge for our bicentennial and give you a brief overview of what we're looking at. Kim?
This podium does make you feel tall. Should I take off my shoes? I'll be closer to the microphone. Good morning, everyone. It's so nice to see family, friends, neighbors here. I am not from Independence, but I feel that this is my only home because, believe it or not, this is the longest place I've lived anywhere in my life. And I still can't get over, as many different places as I've lived, what a great community it is, and you all know that. But I also get frustrated sometimes because I think a lot of residents, including myself, take the city for granted. And we take for granted what we have and the blessings we have. That's why I think it's so appropriate that we recognize the National Day of Prayer today. And as Reverend Leroy Ford said this morning, we have a unity of faith in this town, even among the churches, which is phenomenal. And it has to start at home, whether it's peace or success in business or having a quality of life. And we have it right here. So I think we need to give our mayor a round of applause for that kind of leadership, as well as our council. I am very humbled to have been asked to be part of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for the bicentennial 200 years of history of independence. American science fiction writer Robert Heinlein said, "A generation which ignores history has no past and no future." Well, guess what? We're not going to ignore it. We are going to celebrate it with education, with fun events, and with getting the community involved. And the reason why I look at this work ahead of us as a gift is because it enriches all of our lives, including me. I've already been able to have relationships and conversations with residents that I really didn't know that well, and that will continue, and you'll have the opportunity to do the same, even if you think you know everybody in Independence. The logo that you will see a lot for the bicentennial was designed by someone here in Independence, Melissa Laporta from Digicom, a business here in Independence. Communities and committees have been formed for celebrations, education, and fundraising, spotlighting our civic organizations like the Historical Society, the Garden Club, the Art Guild, the Seniors Group. I'll tell you what, we have a wild Seniors Group. These guys know how to have fun. I love it. And the Kiwanis Club, and we appreciate everything they've done up to this point. The year is going to be a very special one because we're going to try to educate and preserve our past through a book, a DVD, coordinating curriculum in our schools, as well as getting oral histories from many of you. We appreciate people that have been longtime residents and families and generations before you. Something very, very important to preserve. A family packet is going to be sent out to all of you, all the residents, to share your family history. Some of your dirty secrets, maybe not. And also living and working in this city. We want to know so we can continue for future generations. We're also working with school administrators, including the Cuyahoga Valley Career Center, in help with the bicentennial calendar, the culinary school to maybe help provide the food for a front lawn reception at City Hall for an open house that we want to have for the entire city. We hope to have this next spring. Other highlights from the year are going to include a Taste of Independence, a bridal fashion show featuring heirloom dresses from maybe you or your mothers or your grandmothers, alongside the latest looks from Something White Bridal, owned right here in Independence by one of our residents. We're also giving away a diamond necklace, courtesy of Sharon Perello, a resident here, who is one of the owners of Rifshin Jewelers. So this is how it's snowballing. We're trying to get everybody involved. The seniors, now listen to this, they've already planned a wine, beer, and cheese tasting party at our neighbors' Cornerstone of Hope, so you can look forward to that. I'm telling you, these guys know how to party. So I'm waiting for them to come up with their version of Dancing with the Stars, too. But it's really going to be fun. The bicentennial-themed home days next year will include a biathlon for the bicentennial. It'll go from the north border to the south border and back, and that has already been confirmed as being sponsored by the Cleveland Clinic, so we're so happy. We're hoping to do a special train with the Cuyahoga Valley Scenic Railroad, which boards right down on Rockside Road, where a lot of our history began, and an upgraded high-end car show, an ice cream social, and of course, historical tours of the Bramley House and other noted structures in the city. So there's a lot of fun things planned. Of course, we hope to leave a legacy for future generations with the construction of a clock tower to complete the beautiful, absolutely gorgeous grand entrance to the city campus and the municipal buildings, recreation, and education from Selig Drive and Brecksville Road. I don't know about you, but every time I drive into town, I smile when I come through there. What an entrance to our city. It's absolutely beautiful. Currently, we're applying for grants to help fund our bicentennial events, but we also need support of families, businesses, and everybody. We want to get your ideas. We want your time volunteering and your support with all these planned events. So before you leave, as Greg said, you're going to be getting a folder which has information. You can sign up to volunteer. We also have a box here at the Civic Center for your suggestions and your volunteer time. And you can also go online, which I'll remind you about in a moment. The businesses that we're asking to get on board are not only Independence but beyond, so we'll need all of your help and support with that. And right now I'd like to recognize Mavis Winkle's Irish Pub on Rockside Road because they're one of the first businesses to support the Bicentennial Fund. Mary Jo and Bill Demopoulos, are you guys here? I want to give them a round of applause. Stand up, you guys. Because they have done so much for our city in so many ways. And you have on your table a little coupon, a little flyer, because starting Monday, May 13th through Sunday, May 19th, they're going to donate 20% of all food purchases to the 2014 Bicentennial Fund when you mention it with your reservation on, if you call, or with the flyer. So please do that. And thank you all very much. Thank you, too, for all the support for the city. And we are so grateful with your lead for business and appreciate all your contributions. So please check out our website. We have a Facebook page. And don't forget to check out all the meetings. We'd like to see you there, all the updates. God bless you. And let's celebrate the bicentennial next year and preserve our past and look forward to our future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kim, and thank you, the Bicentennial Committee members. We really appreciate your effort. You know, we do have a very proud past, but we also have an important future. And it's important in many respects, but making sure we have enough money to do the things we do, to deliver the services we deliver, to provide the quality of life you're used to is vitally important. We've been blessed to have, and this administration has been truly blessed to have, I want to recognize three people. John Vera is the finance director. John couldn't be here because he had a previous commitment that is very understandable. But John Veras, Vern Blaze, the financial analyst, and Jim Crooks, the finance committee chairman, the three of them working together have done so many wonderful things that you get to be the beneficiaries of. And they make it a lot easier when you're tying in the legislative, administrative, the finance into a tied, cohesive group when it comes to getting things approved by council, when we're able to purchase items, and we're able to keep the quality of life pushing in the right direction. So I want to recognize those three people do a wonderful job. But John and his team also have to be recognized because they are responsible for making sure that our money is in the right place, accounted for, invested properly, and there's no finding for recovery. There's no illegal use of money. You read every day about shenanigans going on. We don't have that in Independence, and I think a lot of it's because of the finance department and their efforts. Now, there are times when there are department heads that aren't too happy with it because they're held to a very high standard, but in the aggregate, it's very important, and I really appreciate the finance department for their efforts all year long. As a matter of fact, they've not only been successful within the city of Independence, they're recognized by the Ohio Auditor of State with an award of distinction for excellence in reporting their CAFR, which only about 5% of the communities receive that award. So I think it's a round of applause for the finance department and their efforts. They work all year long for that. And there are other awards and distinction too, but suffice to say that they're watching our money, and we're making sure that we have a good form of communication between the finance department, city council, the administration. And one guy that really ties that all together, and he'll speak about finances, is Vern Blaze. Some people have asked, well, what's Vern do? Well, I can tell you, Vern does an awful lot. He's the liaison, he's the link pin between the finance department and the department heads. And when you're running a $30 million business, someone's got to be paying attention to the money. And all the people you saw up here this morning, they have a lot of people working for them. And they buy a lot of, when you have a $5 million budget, a $3 million budget, a $2 million budget, that's a lot of money that flows through your department. Someone has to link that money up to proper usage. Someone's got to link it up so that we can buy the right products. And so Vern, in addition to all the other things, he acts like a chief of staff because he's interacting with each department head on a daily basis, and the mayor's office, and the finance department, and city council. And Vern, I'd like you to come and speak on behalf of the city. Tell me about the finances, Vern.
Thank you, Mayor. Kim, I don't have your problem. I got to pull this mic down and actually stand on my tips here to get up to here. So I get to talk about not the exciting topic about the bicentennial, or Jeremy's coming up, our economic development director. He'll talk about economic development. I get to talk about the money. And for a lot of us, it's very important. Real quick, we want to hit 4 main points here this morning on the city's finances. And the first one is tax increment financing, or TIF. That's a financing tool that Finance Director Veras has been very instrumental in bringing to the city and us being able to use it to our advantage here. And the most succinctly I could explain TIF, to explain it in 1 sentence or less, it's really just the city receiving the portion of the property taxes that would go to the county, but then get reallocated to the city for us to use on debt service or infrastructure projects. And therefore, TIF has already financed millions of dollars of infrastructure projects for the city to our benefit, because that's money that we really didn't have coming to us in the first place, and it's going to continue to finance millions of dollars of infrastructure projects going forward for us. The second issue, real quick, is debt management policy. In the past, we've had an informal debt policy, debt management policy, but we look to other organizations, public and private, for best practices. And one of the public sector best practices that we look to for guidance is the Government Finance Officers Association, the GFOA. And they highly recommend that if you want to be considered a professionally managed community out in the industry, that you have a formal debt management policy. So therefore, Finance Director Veras, Finance Chairman Crooks in the back, and myself have begun meeting with a couple experts from the banking industry and the private sector who are public sector finance experts, and we're starting to lay the groundwork for developing a formal debt management policy. Over the next few months, we should have something prepared, ready to put before the Finance Committee for them to deliberate on, analyze, debate, and then the goal is to have the policy in place before Council on their legislative agenda sometime before the end of the year for them to vote on. I will just conclude this part by saying that debt management policy is going to include, it's going to differentiate between debt that the city is obligated to pay back. We're obligated to pay all the debt back, but debt that we have other sources of revenue to pay back with. And that's specifically linking back to the TIF. Because again, the TIF, the tax increment financing revenue that we get, is revenue that we really didn't have coming to us in the first place, and we could use that to pay for some of our major capital and infrastructure projects. And the second portion of that is 0% interest debt. I know we would love to all get that in our personal lives. Very hard to come by. If you have some sources, let me know. But believe it or not, through the work of the engineering department, Don Ram and his team, we're going to be using this as an example with the East Pleasant Valley project. West of Pleasant Valley, west of Rexel Road, has already been done, but if you've been down the hill in our business district, Pleasant Valley in that area is in need of a lot of work. We're going to embark on a reconstruction project there, and the vast majority of that is going to be financed with a 0% loan that we received. meaning all the city has to pay back is the principal. So we were going to do that project anyway. We were either going to have to pay cash or we were going to have to borrow to do it and pay interest, but we're receiving a 0% interest loan to finance most of that. Now, I just mentioned that because in the next topic, when we talk about the comprehensive annual financial report, next year's books, it's going to show our debt going up because we have to show that 0% loan on our books. But all we have to do is pay back principal, and that's debt that I think a lot of us conservative financial types can support because it is at 0%. Third issue, comprehensive annual financial report, the CAFR. Again, we look to the GFOA, the Government Finance Officers Association, for guidance on that. And I brought a CAFR with me example. Some of you may have stopped at City Hall, received a copy. The mayor mentioned about it earlier. They're available online. I will say, as a financial type, even for me, the whole middle section, which is all the financial statements, it's pretty dry, it's pretty intense. But for residents, for most of us here, I would highly suggest getting a copy of the CAFR and reading the first part, which is the management discussion and analysis, the MD&A, and the back section, the statistical section. Both of those sections truly make some very interesting reading, and you'll find out some things about independence that you never really knew. Very good stuff. Last issue, 5-year capital improvement plan, the CIP. Most of us here, I'll use an example, we own our homes here in Independence. There may be some tenants, you may own property. Anybody that owns property understands that a house, a car eventually wears out. That roof on the house is going to have to be replaced. That driveway is going to have to be replaced. That furnace is going to have to be replaced. Your car is going to have to replace. That's what I mean with when I say capital items. Big items that we don't purchase every day, but when we do purchase them, boy, do they cost us a lot of money. And because they cost us a lot of money, we embarked on a process a couple years ago to formalize our capital planning process so that we could plan up to 5 years out which capital acquisitions we are going to be purchasing, such as vehicles, police, fire department, service department, or infrastructure projects that we need to do in the next 5 years. Roads, sanitary sewers, storm sewers, sidewalks, water lines, all the infrastructure that we take for granted every day. Those are big ticket items that cost the city millions and millions of dollars to complete. We have formalized a process to better prepare and plan for how we're going to complete those projects and purchase those vehicles and equipment. And just now here in April and May, the Finance Committee and the other committees of council have embarked on that process here for 2013. They'll go through each section. We'll reconvene later in the summer, and that'll culminate in the adoption of an updated 5-year capital improvement plan for 2013, 14, 15, 16, and 17. So in summary, I think just touching real briefly on these 4 topics, I hope the message comes clear that you've got a very dedicated team of council members, the mayor, the finance director, the finance team, looking out for city's finances and making sure that we are doing our best to be prudent stewards of the public's tax money. Thank you.
Thank you, Vern. Now we have to look to the future, and we have to figure out how to generate more revenue. And in doing so, that'll help support the quality of life and our infrastructure, as well as our day-to-day services. Well, just like you need money to spend on your house and your household, we need the same thing. We need to develop sources of revenue. And we have a team of people that we've put together. We've created the Economic Development Committee. That's chaired by Councilman Asa, and it also has Councilman Riley and Wisniewski. We also have Jim Crooks as our Finance Committee Chairman. And so working with our Economic Development Director, we were fortunate to bring on board through an extensive search, Jeremy Rowan. Jeremy has a big city flavor. He comes from Akron. He also has an understanding, a full breadth of all the opportunities, economic challenges and challenges. And so Jeremy came on board, and we also just brought on board Liberty Schindel. Liberty worked in the public sector for Congressman LaTourette's office. And at this point, it's critical that we not only look for new businesses, but we take the steps to protect and preserve and provide for those existing businesses, those 1,200 or so businesses that provide the lifestyle that we're accustomed to today. We're finding out that if, just like we communicate directly with them, they tell us the little idiosyncrasies or challenges they have or things they need to be fixed, and we're able to take care of them, they'll remember that when they renew their lease 5 years from now or 3 years from now. And so Liberty will be helping with the business retention, and Jeremy will now come up, Jeremy, and talk about your vision for the Economic Development Department and how we're going to go forward.
I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you, Mayor, and also thank Council for their support over the past year I've been here. It's just had my first anniversary, and thank you very much. And wouldn't have been able to get as much done in this year without Council support and the Mayor's support. So I thank you very much for that. When I first started, the Mayor's vision was simply beyond creating an economic development department. He really wanted to look at formalizing an economic development program based on best practices. A program not solely accountable to transactions, you know, how many jobs are created, how many businesses you attract here, or investment. You know, it's a key component of any economic development program, but also looking at a comprehensive approach to improving the economic conditions and business climate in the city. So really planning for the future. Through cooperation with Council, I think we put together an economic development program that's forward-thinking and really lends itself towards looking to the future. Today I'm going to briefly discuss some of our foundation projects we put in place over the last year and briefly touch on the Economic Development Strategic Plan, business retention and expansion efforts that the Mayor briefly mentioned, economic development tools, as well as marketing and branding efforts, and then some commercial corridor improvements that you get to look forward to seeing in the near future. In my opinion, after starting last year, it became pretty clear that we needed to take some time to assess what our economic condition is currently, our place in the regional economy, Independent's key assets and key business sectors, and really take that information and develop some key achievable strategies that are really going to guide job creation and business growth into the future. Shortly, we needed to take on a strategic planning process. You know, when you look at coming from outside of Independence and not being that familiar until I started working here, when you go down to Rockside Road, I was really surprised with the amount of business activity there, the amount of office space, and really the only thing I had to compare it to was my experience in Akron, and it provides a little bit of context. You know, downtown Akron is also a regional place for office. It's an employment center of regional significance. 30,000 people a day come to downtown Akron to work. 23,000 people come into the city of Independence to work in a day. Downtown Akron has 3 million square feet of office space. On Rockside Road alone, there's 3.6 million square feet. So that illustrates the regional significance of Rockside Road and Independence as a place of employment within Northeast Ohio. But I still have people, when we pose the idea of doing the Economic Development Strategic Plan, say, you know, why is it necessary? You know, Independence is doing okay. Our vacancy rate on Rockside is stable, slowly declining. We have a really good base of businesses that have been here a long time that want to grow and stay. Income tax goes up, you know, year after year, and that's all true. What we have now is a really healthy economy. We have Rockside Road, you know, that's doing fairly well within the region, but our building stock is aging and could gradually become less competitive within the region. We've seen as well over the past 10 years a paradigm shift. And Rockside Road grew under the model of greenfield development, office park sort of style of building. And now people have changed the way they relate to where they live, work, and play. And not in all business sectors, but in a lot. And honestly, the success of Rockside Road is really tied to the viability and success long-term of what the level of services that Independence can provide to its residents and businesses. So we need to make sure we take steps to nurture those businesses and help them grow. Also, our business corridors are largely single use. Rockside Road office, Pleasant Valley industrial with some office. And we need to put policies in place now that provide some ability to evolve, for those single use places to evolve and capture emerging trends. So once there was some general agreement that the strategic plan was a good idea, we put out an RFP to bring on a consultant team to help us through that process. We actually received a really great response to that. We interviewed 3 separate consulting teams and decided to go with Randall Gross Development Economics and ACP Visioning and Planning. The process is underway currently. Randy, who's an economist, is looking at the economic analysis portion of the project, and ACP is working on the public outreach. We have a steering committee, which we have some members of that group here today. That's going to help guide the process. We have public workshops that are scheduled, and we also have meetings throughout the process with council, so we'll be able to share some of the findings. And really, the economic strategic plan will be taking that qualitative data and the quantitative data, so the economic analysis and the feedback from the public, condensing those into strategies that will be achievable and really drive job growth into the future. And our hope is to have a finished plan in place in October for council's consideration and approval. And I just have to throw in a plug that we have our first public workshop meeting. It'll be here in this building on June 6th at 7 o'clock. And there'll be an opportunity it was open to residents and businesses. There'll be an opportunity for you to hear some of the initial findings and also interact with the consultants and provide your opinions and thoughts on some really key issues we have here in Independence. There'll be a second workshop that'll be the week of July 22nd. We haven't quite nailed down that date, but we'll be sure to communicate that going forward. Next topic I'm going to touch on today is business retention and expansion. And as the mayor said, business retention and expansion is a really critical component of our economic development strategy. The vast majority of job creation and investment comes from existing businesses, and it's much harder to replace a business than it is to help a business grow in place. Some steps we've taken this year to really develop a formalized business retention and expansion program is simply to start with identifying all the businesses we have. When you're talking upwards of 1,000 businesses in a community, that alone is a daunting task. And we've been able to get around 800 businesses identified, contact information, and really start organizing that into a database, a visitation schedule, so we know who's going to be visited in quarter 1, 2, 3, and 4 of this year. And we've really started to move forward. And by the end of quarter 2 of this year, we'll have sat down and communicated with over 300 businesses. So we're well on track to touching every business that we can in Independence, which is the goal. And just to drive home the importance of business retention and expansion is when you sit down and you meet with those businesses and you just ask a simple question. Well, first you state, you're important to us. What can we do to make your experience here better? What can we do to keep you as a business resident of the city? You find out that a lot of times it doesn't take much to tip the scale in your favor. Having sat with businesses in the past where, they had a pedestrian walkway next to their business and kids were throwing bricks at their equipment, and they were getting ready to not renew a lease because of that. Well, simply we could put up some fencing and protect their investment in their equipment. They signed a lease and stayed within the city. Here in Independence, we've met with quite a few businesses about traffic concerns on West Creek and Rockside, and we've been able to implement some steps short term that have been, I think, going to make some improvements at that intersection, and then also put some steps in place long term that'll make some significant changes. Even finding out that some businesses have shrunk a little bit because of the economic conditions and had some extra space. You know, finding out that there's a company that just got some funding through Jumpstart, looking for some space. We were able to put those two together, and now that business is going to grow here in Independence. So Liberty is going to do a great job. She's done this type of work with Congressman LaTourette, and we have every confidence that she's going to be out there and try to identify those issues so we can help our businesses keep growing here in Independence. Next topic is economic development tools. As the mayor said, you have to invest money if you're going to make money. And this year we worked with council to pass legislation that authorized the administration to craft some targeted incentive deals with companies. And it's not an option anymore. It's a reality in the competitive landscape in Northeast Ohio for business attraction and retention, that sometimes you have to make those kind of concessions and those sort of investments that will yield a good return. And we've had one deal done this year. It fell through, wasn't our fault. But that company was committed to us, we were committed to them, and we'll have another revised package that'll go before council in May that's going to bring a great company into the city. So these type of targeted job creation grants using TIF dollars, public-private partnerships are really critical to our economic development program going forward. Marketing and branding. Economic development had a budget set aside for marketing, and when I came on board, I recognized I'm not an expert in marketing and branding, so it seemed to make sense to take a year to go out and reach out to those who are experts, and we put out an RFQ asking for qualifications from marketing firms that could help us really drill down what is Independent's current brand as a business location. Identify what's our aspirational brand, develop some good quality materials, and put a plan in place for us to get that message out. Because if you're not out there aggressively putting your message of what your community is and what makes it distinctive as a business location, everyone else is defining it for you. So we've hired a firm, Fahlgren Mortein. They're out of Columbus, but they have an office here in Cleveland that's going to be helping us through that process. And it's funny because right after we decided to do this, there was an article in the Economic Development Journals about just this topic. And it had some interesting facts in there about communities trying to make themselves distinctive and coming up with taglines. And some of the taglines they put in here were, the friendliest city. And how many hits does that yield on Google? 543,000 hits on Google. The friendliest city, so friendliest, 222,000 Google hits. A well-kept secret, 6 million Google hits. A great place to live, 8.5. So it really shows you need someone who understands this, that can help you develop the materials and the branding that's really going to help you stand out and be a distinctive place for business. Lastly, I'm going to touch on some work we have put in place for some of our gateways and commercial corridors. I'll put this out there that this is not my work. This is the work of Jeff Markley, the city planner, but I'm going to present it for him here today. Council had set aside some money to do some improvements at the intersection of I-77 and Rockside. So we thought as we put those plans in place, it made sense to look comprehensively at all of our gateways and commercial corridors, including the interchange at Pleasant Valley and 77, continuing the work we've done on Seelig, and then marching that towards downtown. This is a quick sketch. You can't really understand what it is other than it's a concept plan for what we're going to put in place out at I-77 and Rockside. And the improvements, I must say, are much more than just landscaping improvements. It's really trying to drive home a key element of brand, which is image. And we're trying to define what that image will be as a business location for the City of Independence. I'm going to quickly touch, this plan looks at all 4 quadrants. I'll show you a couple examples of what you can expect over the next couple of years. This is a multi-phase project, so it's going to take 3 or 4 years to fully implement. When you get off the I-77 South ramp coming from Cleveland and you're making the left turn onto Rockside, this is your current view. And what we're proposing is to really enhance that area, put a sign that announces you're in Independence when you come off, green it up with spruce it up with flowers, serpentine inset paver walls, trees, landscaping. So it's really going to look good and announce Rockside Road as a business location when you get off of that freeway. And this is coming from the south. When you get off on I-77 and you're facing the Holiday Inn. Again, it's currently kind of stark. And we're looking to use some of the same design elements that you'll see more and more brought out, things that convey value, that you're arriving in a place of character, that a community has a unique sense of place. The brick, the landscaping, the lighting, all will be consistent throughout the city. So again, after we get done with the work at I-77 and Rockside, we're going to then move to Pleasant Valley, but not forgetting about our other commercial corridors, especially along Brecksville Road, continuing that work on Selig, and then looking towards downtown. And I'm going to end today with a couple aspirational slides of what some of these improvements could yield downtown. You look today, if you're standing in the historic square and you're looking towards downtown, the view is really dominated by a lot of overhead power wires and a lot of asphalt. So incorporating some of those same key elements that you see out on Rockside, you'll have the opportunity to potentially remove those wires, put a nice landscape median with trees and flowers, some of those same key elements with the light fixtures that will be brought into most of the design throughout the city. Again, now looking south in that same area, again, the picture dominated by overhead wires, an aspirational view showing those wires gone, replaced with nice landscaping, masonry, brick, again, just really enhancing the sense of place and letting folks know that this is a place of quality and value, and really kind of enhancing an asset that we have currently. So with that, Mayor, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Jeremy. You can tell that we're working on a lot of projects simultaneously. The vision for the future is something that we have a lot of people that are concentrating on so that we can protect the quality of life that we're so used to in our city. But that's a perfect segue into the next segment, the last segment of our vision for the future. Our vision for the future would not, if we don't think of the future, if we don't plan for the future, there won't be a future that we're excited about. And if we think about the future, why are we all working so hard? It's because of our youth. It's because of the quality of life. And I would like to take a minute and have all the students, the IHS students, please stand up, be recognized. But thank you very much for participating. And you're the leadership, you're the future leadership of the school, and you're also the leadership of the community. I mean, I'm probably looking at someone that's going to be either the mayor, sit on council, be a state rep, maybe be a governor, maybe a president. There's a lot of women back there, maybe a future president. But what do you think? Right? And I can tell you, our relationship with the schools is very important and very special. And I want to, my partner, Steve Marlowe. Steve, stand up, please. Be recognized, because Steve, since he's been on board, we meet regularly. We have discussions on important topics. He is committed to the future. He's committed to our young people. He's committed to getting them integrated into society and use their abilities and their talents. He's committed to making sure that we don't have anybody fall through the cracks. And when we have somebody that needs a safety net, that we have that available. He is committed to the future of Independence, and I am very fortunate to have a special relationship with him and his team. They are very They're appreciated by the city. And remember, city plus schools equals community. And we are blessed to have a wonderful community. That being said, that safety net I talked about, we're very fortunate to have people on our team that go beyond their silo duties. Everybody has certain responsibilities. Every department head has certain responsibilities. But in Independence, and it's amazing to me, this organization we run, how much cooperation, how much people will jump. I look through and I see the department heads, and I look at Dave Schneiderman, and he'll stop and pick up a piece of paper. The next day he's in a trench, next day he's helping somebody with a snowplow. I mean, picking up a garbage can. And that's one example as I scan the crowd of what we do, how we overlap to help each other all the time. And that's why we're successful. And what we do is, for example, with Angie Zalesnik, the clerk of courts, that's one of her silos. But what she does to help others working with the school, with 25 and Live, Leader Within. Angie was the one put together the town hall meetings when we were addressing the heroin situation. And so she goes way beyond the call of duty of her simple role of clerk of courts. And I'd like to play a clip from Angie.
Thank you, Mayor, and good morning, everybody. I'm sorry I can't be there with you this morning, but I am grateful to have the opportunity to tell you about the Independence Mayor's Court and why we're different from other mayor's courts. One way is the reason that I'm not there today. As president of the State Association of Mayor's Court Clerks, I'm presiding over our spring meeting with almost 100 clerks in attendance from all over the state of Ohio. And another way that we're different from many of those courts is that we don't just process tickets and collect fines. You see, we made a commitment many years ago that we were going to invest in the future of our youth and therefore invest in the future of the City of Independence. And one way that we met that commitment was through our strong partnership with the Independence schools. But not only the schools, but also the churches, the parents, the students, and the businesses of Independence that together make up our partnership called 25 and Alive. And it's through that partnership that we're able to bring valuable programs to the community, like the Leader Within after-school program, the Campus Life Clubs, No Bullies, No Victims. We have dedicated a school resource officer at the Independence schools and also sponsor Operation Keepsake, a sexual abstinence and character development program. And most recently, we've brought a hands-on drug education program for parents called Operation Street Smart. And what is the reason that we do this? We do this because it takes a proactive approach to prevent youth and adults from getting involved in the criminal justice system in the first place. And lastly, another activity that's planned around the 25 and Alive table is actually taking place today here in the city and across the country. It's National Day of Prayer, so if you haven't had an opportunity to attend one of the events, please check the schedule and make sure that you do. I don't think you'll regret it. And before I turn this back over to the mayor, I would just like to say that none of this would be possible without the support of the mayor and school superintendent Steve Marlowe. So Mayor and Steve, thank you for everything that you do to help us in our community. And additionally, I'd like to thank my team of dedicated, highly trained employees that hold down the fort in my absence like they're doing today, because without them, it would not be possible for me to go out and represent the City of Independence the way that it deserves. So Kathy and Cindy, I know you're here today. Please stand up and let's everybody give them a round of applause. Thank you and enjoy your breakfast.
Another example of how we don't just stay in our silos, that we're always looking beyond. And in this case, I think what I've encouraged and will support is when our department heads reach out beyond their little community to organizations and associations that they can draw information from. I know that Steve Riga, the fire chief, does that, is actively involved, and Pete Nelson was probably one of the pioneers of being involved with associations outside the City of Independence. And they not only bring us resources, they bring us information, knowledge, and better prepare us for the future. So we will continue to invest in our department heads as they invest in opportunities beyond the City of Independence boundaries and bring that information back home. Another clip. Play that.
parents need to stop being so almost naive.
Everyone agrees the solution lies in collaboration to increase awareness and education. The City of Independence started a program called 25 and Alive. It's meant to help kids make good choices, and everyone is involved, from schools, parents, kids, churches, the city, and businesses.
Another example of how Angie and her team were able to bring town hall meetings together to help us with a crisis. We're not a perfect community. We're not perfect families. We have our challenges, but we work every day to improve ourselves, to be better in delivering our services. We try to be a community, the best community in which to live, work, visit, and raise a family. To live, that's what we do, provide services. To work, we want to make sure, as Jeremy alluded to, we want to make sure our business community feels comfortable coming to the City of Independence, so that they'll stay in the City of Independence and keep paying tax dollars so that we can provide the quality of life that you're used to. To visit, we want to embrace people to come and visit. We're second to Cleveland in the number of hotel rooms we have. We have great resources that are now becoming more attractive. We have the National Park. We have our own facilities, which are now they're on the map. And so people are beginning to visit the City of Independence more often. And raise a family? There's no better or more important core value than raising your family the right way. And I think the City of Independence, in concert with the schools, we work hard every day to make sure that we have the best tools, the best people, the best resources available to make sure that the quality of life is enhanced. Now, we don't go outside the city and toot our horn. I think Jeremy said earlier, best kept secret. Well, many of you know that that's been our style for years. We're low key. We don't go out and wave our flag. We just happen to be in the right location and we take advantage of our opportunities. But Cleveland Magazine ranks us pretty high. When you think of all the communities in Northern Ohio, and to be ranked in the top 20, and we're very fortunate, is to me another barometer, another checkpoint in the right direction, and we'll continue to work hard. Not that we focus on our outside agencies to rate us. We know what we have here. We know what we have. But we need to always be monitoring and paying attention to the future so we don't lose those opportunities because, as I said earlier, things are changing, and they're changing every day. At this point, I just want to recognize and conclude with the following. We have a very strong history, a proud history in this community. 200 years, okay? 200 years, it's a long time. We're a very proud community, and we have a vision statement that links all of that together. We have a community we're proud. We have a vision statement that says where we're going and what we value, and it's all about you. The best barometer is not the Cleveland Magazine. It's you, each and every one of you. And what we try to do, that team of people that stood up here before, and all the people in the trenches, every employee for the City of Independence works hard every day for you. The best barometer that I have is when you tell us what we're doing right. And by the way, I've learned over the years, you're not bashful of telling us when we're doing something wrong. And that's okay, because we keep trying. We keep trying. Maybe I'm not as smart as I thought I was because I just keep trying. And at that point, what can I say? We've been very fortunate. We've been blessed. We have the best kept secret in the county. I think that our city finances are strong. The Bicentennial Committee is working hard to really make it an enjoyable experience for all of you next year. The economic development team that we're putting together will ensure our success in the future. The cooperation of City Council, working with the department heads and the administration, just means that we're going in the right direction. And as my mom always said to me, Gregory, leave this place better than you found it. And I can assure you that's our goal. Because if at the end of the day, I've been honored and humbled by the fact that you have allowed me to serve. This is my 20th year as your mayor. And I can tell you that every day I get up, I'm still excited, I'm still passionate, and I'm still in love with the City of Independence. And it's because of each and every one of you. With that, I want to thank you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your help. Thank you for being part of what makes Independence a great community. God bless you. God bless the City of Independence. And God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much.